It's a big week for the UFC with UFC 313 on deck going down this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada at the T-Mobile Arena. And it features the light heavyweight title, none other than Alex Pereira, number three on the due list, taking on Magomed Ankalaev. And this is the fight that everybody wanted to see. Also, Hamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis seems destined to happen in the USA. And I know what you're thinking. How's Hamzat getting in the country? Well, what I tell you, Trump is the president now. Things are going to start happening. Dana White knows a guy. So we're going to get into these topics and more next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA Podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What's happening? This is your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA Podcast. And yes, it is definitely a big week for the UFC. Who doesn't want to see Alex Pereira finally take on the guy that some people believe will beat him in Magomed Ankalaev? It wasn't exciting getting to this point. Ankalaev is involved in a lot of decisions, but he finally gets his opportunity. Okay, he did KO Johnny Walker, but who cares, right? Can he take down Alex Pereira? Well, he's a big guy. It's going to be interesting. So stay tuned for that prediction later in the show. We'll also preview the entire card as well as provide some other fight predictions. So again, stay tuned for that. It's coming up here shortly. Now, a couple of topics to get into first. So let's just talk about this past weekend. Manel Kape got the win over Asul Almabayev. There was an eye poke. The ref missed it. The fight went on, and Manel Kape won. People are upset about it, including myself. I'm not mad for Manel, but I'm mad that we got our pick wrong, and now we're 3-4 on the year. So a second straight year where we're struggling out the gate in the main event. Now, we did at least go 5-5 last night in the 10 fights. Not great, but it didn't hurt our win-losses as far as how many wins we got over losses right now. So we'll take that, but 3-4 in the main event is not good. So we wanted to preview that before we get into some of the news. So let's get into it. So there's two main topics. The first one is the UFC and the FBI. And this is crazy, right? I know you've heard about this already. Dana White explaining that the FBI as an organization wants UFC to train its agents. And this is interesting, right? I mean, why not? You got some of the best fighters. Well, not some. You got the best fighters in the world. The FBI could learn something, right? It's not that the FBI agents can't hold their own, but why not train at even a higher level? I think this is a wonderful idea. I'm sure Dana White is on board. I'm sure Kash Patel is on board. And I'm sure President Trump is on board. Justin Gaethje also weighing in. And explain that he would be willing to help Kash Patel train FBI agents, saying, I love representing this country, as he explained to TMZ, I believe. So, and you're going to see this more and more. You're going to have fighters that come to the forefront. I'm sure Colby Covington will be in. I'm sure Kamaru Usman may be in. I'm sure, Jorge Masvidal will be in. I'm sure there's going to be a host of guys that want to help out the FBI. And again, it's not that the FBI needs the UFC's help. They don't need it. This is just about training at a different level. And maybe you go through your whole career as an agent and you never need it. But why not have that training? It can only help. So that's what's going on there. So Dana White involved with Kash Patel on some level, and we'll see how this thing transpires. It can't hurt, right? And for the next 4 years, you're going to see a healthy relationship between the UFC and the Gov. Make no mistake about it. Now, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev reportedly in the works for UFC 318. And guess what? It will be in the United States. So we're trying to stay away from politics when we get into fighting, but it keeps crossing paths because, as we said before, how is Khamzat getting in the country with no visa? Well, guess what? Dana White is friends with Trump. And there was a reason that Khamzat wasn't allowed in the country. It's straight political, right? Because he had someone that he associated with or was friends with someone, so now he can't come in the country and you're fighting for the UFC. I mean, it's crazy. But that's what was going on. So, and this is probably, unfortunately for us as fans, the reason we haven't seen Khamzat fight for the title in the last 4 years, even though we all know that he should be fighting for the title. The UFC wants to get him in the country because, you have a huge fan base in the USA. This is a lot of times where the biggest fights in the world take place. Yeah, they go overseas to Saudi Arabia and London and different places, but they only go overseas once or twice a year, roughly, for a pay-per-view event. Why? Because the time zones are different. You're still going to have the main card kick off at 10 p.m. here, even if it's 3 or 4 or 6 a.m. somewhere else, right? So it's just easier to do in the United States, and it's easier if you can get Khamzat there because this thing is going to sell huge because people believe, including myself, that Khamzat Chimaev is the future. That's just the bottom line. So we want Khamzat. I want Khamzat to win the belt in the USA, and I think that's what's going to happen. So 318, we're looking at July. So to all my friends and family, I've been waiting for this for 5 years. This is like the next level of Conor McGregor for me, right? Conor McGregor was always my favorite fighter. Now it's Khamzat, especially since we haven't seen McGregor in a while, and he's never probably going to be at the height again. Khamzat is my guy, and whatever night he fights on, I'm busy that night. That's the bottom line. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be watching that fight, and it's going to be like the last few. It's going to just be crazy, especially if he wins. I mean, it's like the Super Bowl. I mean, every other fight's like the playoffs. This will be like the Super Bowl. Please believe it. And I cannot wait for this thing to go down. So those are some of the topics going on. Of course, again, we got UFC 313 going down this Saturday in Las Vegas. And this is a solid card from top to bottom. Solid card. Now, in the early prelims, you got guys like Jordan Santos, Brazilian 10-1, taking on Ozzy Diaz. Santos is a nice favorite there in the middleweight division. And what you're going to see is Brazilians up and down this card like you do every pay-per-view event. Right? It's not the pay-per-view in the prelims, but you're going to see Brazil fighters up and down like Myron Santos in the next fight, back to back. He's 15-1. Okay, are you listening? One Brazilian fighter 10-1, another 15-1, but he's taking on a tough Francis Marshall from the USA who's 8-2, but he's got a lot to learn. Then again, 3 in a row, Carlos Leo, Brazilian, taking on Alex Morono. Surprisingly, Leo with 6 losses is an 8-1 favorite over Morono. That's because he's got 11 losses. Then again, middleweight division, another Brazilian, Bruno Ferreira, 12-2, takes on Armen Petrosian, 9-4, but this time the Brazilian is not the favorite. Instead, it's Armen Petrosian. And that leads us up to our first prediction of the night. We're only skipping one fight the rest of the way, so let's dive right into this. In the flyweight division, huge fight. Joshua Van, 12-2, takes on Ray Soraya from Japan. He's 10-0, coming through road to UFC. What can he do? Can he get the job done? Well, let's find out. In the flyweight division at UFC 313, you got Joshua Van taking on Ray Soraya. And you got to love this fight. I mean, this is going to be a high-level fight at the lowest weight class, so lots of activity. Van 12-2, Soraya 10-0, USA versus Japan. Soraya 1 inch taller at 5'6". He's 22, Van 23 years old. Soraya 3-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Now, so far, Van has looked impressive. 8.9 significant strikes per minute compared to 2.3 for Soraya, but Soraya lands on average in limited UFC fights, but he lands on average 2 takedowns per round. Van gets 1 every 3. On the flip side, Van 80% takedown defense. That's going to be crucial in this fight. Soraya 50% takedown defense. So all of a sudden, the takedown game is kind of, I don't want to say even. You still got to give the edge to Soraya, but Soraya doesn't have great takedown defense, so Van might be able to exploit that and surpass his average in this fight. Now, Van is coming off the win over Cody Durden by decision. He beat Edgar Chairez by decision. In both of those fights, he dominated in significant strikes. I mean, absolutely dominated. A total of 283 significant strikes in the last two fights. And he did land 3 takedowns against Chairez. Now, he did lose to Charles Johnson, who's also on this card, or actually uh, the previous week at Vegas 103. But Charles Johnson KO'd him in the third. Felipe Boons took the L to Joshua Van. Van also beat Kevin Borja, so he's 1-4 the last 5. Not bad. Soraya has been perfect. Won at Road to UFC by submission and by decision with just dominant takedown game, right? 11-1 in takedowns. Then in the third Road to UFC fight, he landed a KO in the first. So he's shown, versatility by being able to win in the stand-up, land in the KO, whatever it takes, and he comes into the UFC and just stifles Carlos Hernandez. I mean, it's just 17-16 in significant strikes, 3-1 in takedowns. But the thing for me here, it's not that Ray Soraya, it's a tough prediction, man. It's not that Ray Soraya can't win. I just don't have enough information, right? I mean, we don't know how good these Road to UFC fighters are. Yes, he beat Carlos Hernandez, who is a 10-3 fighter coming in. But to me, Joshua Van is on a different level right now. He's won 4 the last 5 with dominant striking. He's going to have to really utilize and needs that 80% takedown defense. But as long as that comes through, he's going to dominate on the feet. That's just all there is to it. So I got to believe that's what's going to happen. He'll stop several takedowns. He may give up 1 or 2 and lose around that way, but he'll win 2 out of 3 on the striking to move to 13-2, in my opinion. Likely by decision here, flyweight division, UFC 313. Yeah, so you heard it there, tough prediction because Soraya is undefeated. And the question always becomes, well, how good is this guy? We don't know. So that makes it tough to make a prediction. I know how good Joshua Van is. He's 12-2, right? Both these guys in their early 20s. I mean, you love to see this stuff. But Van is just, when you're landing nearly 9 significant strikes per minute, I can't go against you. So we'll take Joshua Van to win this one. Please believe it. Now, the next fight, it's just huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge because you got Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev, a guy that just recently came over to the UFC from Bellator, I believe. I believe it's Bellator. But when you're talking about heavyweights and you're talking about the main event in the prelims, this is going to be a big one. And I think someone is going down. I got to believe here someone is going down. So let's get into this one right now. In the heavyweight division at UFC 313, you got Curtis Blades fighting down, I guess, against Rizvan Kuniev. Blades 18-5, Kuniev 12-2. Both guys stand 6'4". Blades is now 33 years old, so he's still in the prime. Seems like he's older, but he's not. Kuniev, 32. Now, in terms of the reach, Curtis Blades, 4-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Kuniev, more active on the feet, at least so far. 5.8 significant strikes at 3.5 per minute for Blades. So you're looking at almost 2.5 more per minute, or about 40 to 45. So that's a significant advantage. But Curtis Blades can go to the ground. He lands like 2 takedowns on average per round. Kuniev gets 1 per round. So that's an impressive rate for Curtis Blades. But he has just a 31% takedown defense. He got KO'd by Tom Aspinall in about 1 minute in his last fight. That was for the interim title. He did beat Gelton Almeida. That was a big win at the time, as Almeida looked unstoppable. Beat him by second round KO. Remember the 9 takedown attempts, or not attempts, but 9 takedowns. And Curtis Blades finally got tired of it, and at the beginning of the second round began landing elbows. And surprisingly finished the fighter. He could have had 3 losses in a row because he lost to Sergey Pavlovich by KO before that and beat Tom Aspinall, but that wasn't really a win. That was an injury. So he struggled as of late. Now Kuniev, so far 100% takedown defense, but keep in mind these are contender series fights, so he's jumping right into it with Curtis Blades. Now Kuniev won by first round KO at the contender series 3 seasons earlier. He beat Edevan Santos by KO. So I'm not sure why he didn't get into the UFC as he dominated that fight and then got invited back a few seasons later. So there was something going on there, but the fact is Kuniev is looking solid, but he's jumping right into it with Curtis Blades. I cannot go against Curtis Blades here. I mean, this is a major step up. Kuniev is Russian, right? He's going to be strong. He's going to be tough. He could outstrike Blades very easily and catch him. But at the same time, I got to look at who's more well-rounded. Curtis Blades is not like a 37 or 38-year-old heavyweight like a Cannonier would be in the middleweight division where he could start to slide very quickly. And when you're making predictions, you got to try to guess when that slide will begin. But Curtis Blades is only 33. I'm not so sure he's done working his way to the top yet. He's only lost to some big-time contenders. So Kuniev should learn in this fight that there's levels to this game. And I got to go with Curtis Blades here, the American, to get the finish. Well, I would say ahead of 3 rounds, but it's only a 3-round fight. So he'll get the finish sometime in the second or third round, in my opinion, to move to 19-5. Forget the significant strikes in this one. The ground and pound should be what Curtis Blades is looking for to get the W. Heavyweight division, UFC 313. Yeah, and the difference for this fight is I was just very impressed by Curtis Blades beating Jailton Almeida. After the 9 takedowns, Almeida was taking down everybody, dominating, finishing people, or, controlling them to get the win by decision, whatever. And dropping those elbows led to the victory. It was impressive. Now, Rizvan Kuniev, I'm not sure if it was Bellator or PFL, it was one of the two, but he looked pretty well over there and coming over to the UFC through the Contender Series and getting this big opportunity. So anything is possible for him. Anything is possible. But we'll take Curtis Blades because he's been around for a while and he's got a lot of experience in this type of setting. Rizvan, I would imagine, is going to be a little nervous walking out in front of 20,000 people roughly. Now, as we get into the main card, this is a big one. King Green, remember, a.k.a. Bobby Green. I know you know the name. Taking on a solid Brazilian. Mauricio Ruffi, who's 11-1. And this is a very tricky prediction because King Green is all over. He beats people that you may not expect him to beat. He loses to people that are very good, but he's lost too many fights at this point. So this prediction can go either way. Let's get into it right now. In the lightweight division at UFC 313, you got King Green, formerly known as Bobby Green, taking on Mauricio Ruffi, the Brazilian, a guy that's 11-1. King Green, ever the veteran though, 32-16, but those losses are piling up. Now Ruffi is coming down. He, normally weighs about 164 as reported. So he's coming down a little bit to get down to the lightweight division. He's 28, King Green 38, Ruffi 4-inch reach. Both guys stand right-handed. Now King Green is known for striking 6.4 significant strikes per minute to 4.7 for Ruffi. And King Green can land like a takedown on average per 3 rounds. But again, Ruffi is Brazilian. More on that in a moment. King Green, 74% takedown defense. He lost to Paddy Pimblett, got dominated on the ground by submission, beat Jim Miller by decision, lost to Jalen Turner, a.k.a. the Tarantula, by KO, and beat Grant Dawson by KO. Mauricio Ruffi, on the other hand, has won 3 in a row against James Yontop, decision, Jamie Malarkey, KO, and Magomed Ankalaev by 3rd round KO at the Contender Series. So this is a big step up. Should be a highly interesting fight. He didn't land any takedowns against James Yontop, but he got dominated on the feet 90-67, still won the fight. In the previous 2, he led in significant strikes. So I think it'll be interesting if it goes to the ground, but I just think King Green is still a solid striker, and Ruffi is still young. This is a big step up for him. Not to say he can't answer the call. Usually, if it's a close fight, I go with the Brazilian. But in the lightweight division, Being a veteran is everything. I mean, very tough division, and King Green has been through it. He is slowing down a little bit, but I think he's still good enough to win this one. So I'm going to take King Green to outstrike Ruffy and defend those takedowns to move to 33 in 16 by decision, in my opinion. Lightweight division, UFC 313. Now, I know what you're thinking, and you might be right. I could be overlooking the fact that it's a 28-year-old Ruffy versus a 38-year-old King Green. 38 is a weird number, man, in terms of age. I mean, you really start slowing down. So, we'll see how this plays out, but we like King Green to get the win here. But it should be a very close fight. Really one that can go either way. Now, the next fight I really, really love because I'm a big fan of Jalen Turner. He fights in a lightweight, the lightweight division, right? The best in the UFC. And he's taking on a bad dude in Ignacio Bahamondes from Chile. And this fight is a toss-up. And, even though I like a guy, if it's close, I usually go with him, but you never know. Sometimes you got to keep it real. And the fact is, Bahamondes is a highly competitive fighter. I mean, this dude is good. So let's get into it right now. In the lightweight division at UFC 313, this fight goes down in the main card. You got Jalen Turner taking on up-and-comer Ignacio Bahamondes. And I like this fight because Turner is ranked 13th in the division. Very tough to get ranked in the lightweight division. Bahamondes is looking to capitalize off that ranking with a big win. Now, don't let Jalen Turner's record fool you. He's 14-8, much better than the record. Bahamondes 16-5. Both guys stand 6'3". Turner just 29 years old, still young. Bahamondes 27. Jalen Turner, 1-inch reach advantage. He fights left-handed. Bahamondes fights right-handed. Bahamondes 7.2 significant strikes per minute. That's ridiculous. Jalen Turner very active as well, 5.6 per minute. He can also land a takedown like once every 4 rounds, but it's not really a big part of his game. He also has a 74% takedown defense. Jalen Turner, aka the Tarantula, is coming off the loss against Renato Moicano by KO. He also lost to Dan Hooker by split decision and Mateusz Gamrot split decision, but he did beat King Green, who's also on this card, by the way, by first round KO. So that's where it gets confusing, and hopefully the Dan Hooker and Mateusz Gamrot wasn't like the height of Jalen Turner's career, and those 2 losses will now begin the fall. I don't think that's the case. Again, he's 14-8, but don't let that record fool you. And he's lost 3 of the last 4. But he's got the big KO against Bobby Green, and he's lost, losing to guys that are well-respected fighters. So he's just gaining experience over time. That's why this is such a big fight for him. Bahamondes, on the other hand, 85% takedown defense. Won a pair of fights against Christos Giagos, first-round KO. Manuel Torres, first-round KO. Lost to Ludovic Klein by decision. Gave up 3 takedowns, had 0, trailed by 13 significant strikes. So that's about where he's at. Both guys are kind of in the same category, right? They're losing to some guys they're probably not ready to beat just yet. Might beat them later on in their career, but not right now. But beating everybody else. That's how I see it. When you look at the losses both of these guys got, they're against well-known, respected fighters. But Jalen Turner, to me, has more experience. I'm very aware that Ignacio Bahamondes, the Chilean fighter, is very, very good. He can't come in here and cause problems, but Jalen Turner needs a win desperately. It's very hard to get ranked in this division, and you can't slip to 14-9. Now, we've seen others do it. We've seen others struggle, like Charles Oliveira struggled out the gate as an MMA fighter, and then boom, 11 straight wins the lightweight title, right? That happens. And Jalen Turner is approaching that pivotal peak, right? He's reaching that peak performance. So we got to keep an eye on that. I do think Jalen Turner wins. Now, of course, I'm a big fan of Jalen Turner's. I want to see him win, but I still analyze the fight and try to make a solid prediction. If I didn't think he was going to win, I tell you, even if I'm a fan of his, and that I've done that in the past. But I believe Jalen Turner must have a win here. His back is against the wall. The numbers aren't necessarily with him, but the experience is, and I think that's going to carry him through in an always important lightweight division fight. I think he gets the win by decision, 2 rounds to 1. On the stats, hard to tell you how. He could trail by significant strikes and win this fight. He's due for a split decision win anyway, and that's how close his fight is going to be. So look for Jalen Turner to get the win here, lightweight division at UFC 313. Yeah, we went with our guy, the Tarantula, aka Jalen Turner, because it's a 50-50 fight. And, he was moving up quickly and then had some setbacks, but he's still a ranked guy. He's still within reach of not necessarily the title, but, running away with 3 or 4 wins in a row and getting into the top 5. I mean, that's how good he is. So I look for him to win this fight. Now in the next one, we had a little switch up. We got Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. And listen, another lightweight fight, co-main event. This is a fight that people want to see. Please believe it. Both these guys coming in off a loss. I know you remember Holloway landing the big KO over Gaethje. This is what it sounded like at the time.
Final 13 seconds of this fight. What an incredible fight here. We're in the final. There's a tap. There's a tap. Oh, look at Max. He's saying they're standing right in the middle. He don't care. Look at this. He's standing. Oh, he drops Gaethje with 1 second left. Max Holloway finishes Gaethje with 1 second left, bro. This will go down as the most epic performance in UFC history. I'm telling you right now. Holy crap. Not only is this stunning because he's not expected to win, but he finishes Gaethje with 1 second and says, come forward. Like, he's winning the fight. All he's got to do is run away, okay? He's saying, come to the middle, come to the middle. And then whop, 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 boom. Gaethje goes right down. And I don't even know if the ref had time to stop it because it was at 1 second, but it was clearly like Gaethje's out. You got to give him the KO.
Yeah, so one of the most epic fights you'll ever see. And at UFC 300. I mean, crazy. But Gaethje lost that fight. Now, Fiziev also lost, right? Against Mateusz Gamrot. This is how this one sounded at the time.
Gamrot's got Fiziev pinned up against the fence. 3:20 left. Round 2. Good fight so far. Not a lot of control time. A little bit of clinch time by Mateusz. But he still trails in significant strikes. Even though he leads in head strikes. 11-4. Fiziev comes forward. Oh, Fiziev looked like he hurt his right leg. Oh, he goes down. And Gamrot pounds away, and that's it. It's over. And, man, what a way to finish this fight, man. Rafael Fiziev did something to his left knee or foot. It's hard to tell. He just lays on his back. And he landed a kick. You heard it. Whop. And as soon as he landed that kick, he went back, stepped on his leg, and went down. And Mateusz Gamrot don't care. He's celebrating like this is a big win. As he probably should. I mean, it's a big fight either way. But the bottom line is you don't want to win that way.
So it wasn't a normal KO loss, right? I mean, it was a TKO because of the injury. So, it took him some time to get back. He's back, and we get the big rematch with him and Gaethje, which was just a great fight the first time. 103-97 in significant strikes. So without further ado, let's jump into the prediction right now. In the lightweight division, your co-main event at UFC 313. You got Justin Gaethje now taking on latecomer Rafael Fiziev. So all of a sudden, Dan the Hangman Hooker is out. Fiziev is in. I know you guys have heard about this. Gaethje 25-5. Fiziev 12-3. And suddenly the odds are even. Gaethje 3 inches taller, 5'11". He's 36, getting older. Fiziev right in the prime at 31 with something to prove. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage. He's a switch stance fighter. Gaethje fights right-handed. Now, in terms of activity, that leans towards Gaethje. 6.8 significant strikes per minute to 4.9 for Fiziev. and neither guy likes to land takedowns. So this is going to be a stand-up striking affair. Now, Gaethje, remember last time out he got KO'd by Max Holloway. He's still reeling from that. But he did beat Dustin Poirier by KO, and he beat Rafael Fiziev by majority decision. But it was a great fight, right? He had one takedown in the fight, no big deal, but it was 103 to 97, insignificant strikes, very close fight. And you would expect this one to be very close as well. Now, since that Gaethje fight, Fiziev came back and got KO'd by Mateusz Gamrot. So that really hurt. So you really don't know what to expect here. I mean, I would think that Fiziev would have learned from that Gaethje loss, right? But then he comes back and gets KO'd by Gamrot. So you're thinking, okay, he should be getting better, but 2 losses in a row, and and then getting KO'd in the second round. But on the flip side, Gaethje also got KO'd. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I could see why they set this up. Obviously, someone's got to prevail. I think a lot of people think that Fiziev will get over the top this time, but I really think Gaethje has something to prove. I mean, he let Max Holloway come up from the featherweight division and land a KO. He's not going out like that. Gaethje's going to come in here with even more to prove than Fiziev. Fiziev just has something to prove in a sense. He wants to get on the scene and start, getting better and beating guys like Mateusz Gamrot and beating others, especially like Gaethje. But Gaethje's not going to let it happen, right? His days might be numbered, or at least years, but not in this fight. I like Gaethje to win again by very, very close decision. In this case, to move to 26-5. That's my opinion, but it's going to be very close. It's going to be like 145 significant strikes to like 130. So it's going to come down to round by round, and Gaethje wins 3 out of 5, in my opinion here. Lightweight division co-main event at UFC 313. Yeah, and it will be interesting just based off of how both guys finished their last fight. Gaethje getting KO'd by Holloway, Fiziev coming off the injury. You're always hesitant when you're coming off an injury. And Gaethje's not the guy you want to be hesitant against. So I look forward to this being a great fight. But Justin Gaethje has got to get the win. Then in the next one, I mean, Alex Pereira, fighter of the year, last year in 2024, fighting 3 times, winning all 3 by finish. And his stock is as high as you can go right now. I mean, it's just as high as you can go. And Khalil Roundtree put up a good fight last time out, but he couldn't get the win. But Khalil put up a good fight, and Pereira just continued to pound away until he got the victory. Check this out.
Pereira's just a beast. Oh, this might be it. Alex Pereira, open it up now. This could be the beginning of the end. I'll tell you what, Khalil has heart, man. Khalil has heart, but he's like one punch away from going down. There's a body shot, and that's going to probably be it. Khalil goes down, and that's it. And Pereira tries to go in for more. He gets pulled off by the ref, and Alex Pereira retains the belt. But dang, I'll tell you what, the story of the night is Khalil Roundtree, too. I mean, Alex Pereira is a ridiculous champ. Oh my goodness gracious. Alex Pereira is ridiculous, man. He's going to move to 12-2. And he withstood he withstood a barrage from Khalil Roundtree, right? He withstood it. And just over time broke him down. But Khalil Roundtree has tremendous heart. Tomorrow, or whenever the rankings come out, Khalil Roundtree should be 3 or 4. But that's not how it works. It's crazy. Unbelievable. So listen, that's a wrap, man. Alex Pereira retains the belt, KOs Khalil Roundtree. Basically KOs him into submission with 27 seconds left in round 4. But Khalil Roundtree held in there for nearly 20 minutes with one of the baddest dudes on the planet. And had chances in rounds 2 and 3, but couldn't get the job done. So Alex Pereira wins, 12-2. Still champion, baby. Light heavyweight division. UFC 307.
And the most impressive thing is not even Khalil's effort that night, which was crazy, but it's just that Pereira's only 12-2. I mean, this is only his 15th fight. Everything he's accomplished in under 15 fights is ridiculous. But in comes Magomed Ankalaev, a guy that a lot of people want to see. And he doesn't get KOs often, but he did here against Johnny Walker. Check this out.
Now Magomed continues to come forward, lands a leg kick, and Johnny Walker stuck working around the outside of the octagon. I mean, Magomed really controlling the center in this fight. Johnny takes a left leg kick. Oh, a big right by Magomed. Johnny Walker covers up, and that's it. Whoa. Magomed Ankalaev gets the win. And finally, in the second fight, Magomed Ankalaev gets the finish. And guess what? You know, he had the win streak going. It had 2 fights not really go his way, but he didn't lose them, right? So his unbeaten streak continues. This guy's now 18-1, and he landed a big shot on Johnny Walker to get the win, man. He's going to maintain or hold serve, I like to say. He's the better and higher contender in this situation. So he holds serve. He moves to 18-1 here, light heavyweight division, UFC Vegas 84.
Yeah, in that fight, the KO against Johnny Walker helped get him back on track. He needed a finish, right? You had the thing against Blachowicz where they fought to a draw when he could have won the belt, and the UFC made him wait for a while. Alex Pereira made him wait for a while. But finally, we get this fight, and again, it's one that everybody wants to see because we have to know. I mean, this is the last guy standing before Pereira can say, hey, I've cleaned out the division. It's time to let me fight John Jones or Tom Aspinall. But can he do it? I'm not so sure. Let's get into the pick right now. In the light heavyweight division for the light heavyweight division title, it's finally official. You got Alex Pereira, current champ, 12-2. It's hard to believe he only has 14 fights. Taking on Magomed Ankalaev, the big Russian. He's 20-1. So he deserves a title shot, and he finally gets it. Now, Pereira 1 inch taller at 6'4". He's 37. Ankalaev is 32, so he's right in the prime. Pereira 4-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Pereira 5.5 significant strikes per minute at 3.6 for Ankalaev. And neither guy really lands a lot of takedowns, but Ankalaev can get like 1 over the course of 3 rounds. So maybe he gets 2 in this fight. But Pereira 70% takedown defense. That's above average. And he's just been dominant over the last 5 fights in the light heavyweight division, taking down Jan Blachowicz by split decision. More to come on that particular opponent. Yuri Prochazka, KO. Jamal Hill, KO. Yuri, KO. Khalil Roundtree Jr., KO. So 4 straight KOs over the last 4 fights, and he's just at his height right now. Ankalaev beat Rakic by decision. Johnny Walker, KO. Now, Jan Blachowicz, who they both have a common opponent, he lost. Actually, no, it was a draw that he fought Jan Blachowicz to a split draw. And basically, that took away his opportunity there to win the belt. If he'd have been a little more aggressive, he probably would have beat Jan Blachowicz. Probably beat him anyway. It was 78-55 in significant strikes, 2-0 in takedowns, but a very boring fight to watch at that time. And you remember Dana White wasn't happy. So very close against a common opponent. So there's a reason to believe that this fight is going to be very close. But I got to lean towards Alex Pereira. I mean, the guy's the current champ. He lands 5.5 significant strikes per minute. He tends to lower the numbers of his opponents. I think Ankalaev is going to have to take this fight to the ground, and he probably will once or twice. But remember, Pereira is Brazilian, so he has some ground game if necessary. But his kickboxing style really messes with his opponents. Again, brings down their numbers, so I have no reason to believe that Pereira will fall here. I like him to win, probably by decision. I think it goes all the way, if I had to guess. But Pereira wins on the feet, defending takedowns. Maybe he gives up 1 or 2, but he dominates on the feet to move to 13-2 and retain the belt here, light heavyweight division, UFC 313. Yeah, and I'm not going against Alex Pereira. Listen, he's number 3 on our dude list for a reason. I mean, this is a bad dude, and I'm going to have to see it to believe it, right? I'm going to have to see it to believe it. And right now, I'm not believing that Ankalaev could beat Alex Pereira. So I got no choice but to go with the Brazilian. And I have no problem going with the Brazilian. You know me. So look for Alex Pereira to dominate here and get the job done and end all the talks. It's as simple as that. Now, let's jump into the Q&A. It's been a little while. We had to get back to it. No better time than pay-per-view week. Got Jacqueline Robinson talking about Volkanovski and Diego Lopez, saying, I keep telling people Diego is too fast for Volk. The boy can rumble. And yeah, I think so too. I think Volk is done. I think the KOs against Islam and then against Ilia Topuria, it just messed him up. Now, this is a step up for Diego Lopez, but I think he can get the job done here. This is also a chance for Volk to get the belt back, so he'll be at his best too. Looking forward to that one. In Miami, baby. Yes, sir. Now, UFC 315, Hernan Miela saying Michael Morales, Gilbert Burns, excellent fight. Michael Morales has 12 victories by KO. He is a machine. Yeah. And that's a big card. I mean, you got that fight. You got Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight title. What happened to Shavkat? That's another question everybody wants to know, right? Shavkat getting passed up. Now, of course, the word is he's injured and couldn't take the fight, but they could have waited on him. But the bottom line is that's still a big card at 315. Now, in terms of Hamza versus Duplessis, EP man saying, I think Hamza needs to focus on his ground and pound in round one like he did in his first two fights in the UFC. Make every ground punch count, and every one needs to be thrown with the intention to win. After DDP gets injured, he will expose himself like everyone else. And I'm with you, EP. You're speaking my language. And of course, has had a lot of back and forth. Urban Legend saying, problem is Hamza's only chance is wrestling. DDP will cause him problems on the feet. At least that's what people believe. EP man weighs in, says that's why you Urban Legend. Whatever comes from you, you're just an urban legend. Why would Hamza have a problem if he gets the takedown? And see, that's the thing is, can anyone stop Hamza from getting a takedown? And then another weighs in. Well, then Dreykus' only chance is on the feet too. Urban Legend weighs back in, but Hamza has 5-minute window. DDP has 25 minutes. Okay, so that's the best point being made, is that this fight gets out of the first round, then what? Right? Because we've seen Hamza struggle after the first round, but he's got a new trainer, new manager, all that, and I think that that's going to change in this fight if it does in fact go that far. Urban Legend says, but DDP will go after Hamza for 5 rounds, whereas Hamza won't be able to wrestle at all in round 3. And that's where the fight could really open up. Shanafori, DDP isn't everyone else. See, and that's the thing is, yeah, DDP isn't everybody else, but he's still going down against Hamza. DDP is a big dude, though, right, who can hold his own on the ground. But it just appears that Hamza is just dominant on the ground and that nobody has a chance on the ground against him. But DDP is a big dude, solid shoulders, and you will believe if anyone can hang with Hamza, it would be DDP. So if Hamza gets in there and just runs through him, he's going to not only win the belt, which is going to cause me to jump through the roof, but he'll hold the belt for a long time and then start to look up at the light heavyweight division. That's why I want this fight to happen quick, because I want Alex Pereira I want to see Hamza versus Alex Pereira. But they're not just going to let, if I'm Hamza, I win the middleweight belt, boom, I let it go just like Ilia. I go right to light heavyweight. Let's not wait till we're 35, 36. Let's start doing this thing when we're 31, 32, still in the middle of the prime, and let's get the job done. But that's the way I see this thing going. Listen, big week ahead. Feel free to weigh in the comment section. We'll put you up on the Q&A and respond. So make sure you comment on this video. Let me know what you think about all these picks, as well as Hamza versus Duplessis, as well as the FBI and UFC collaborating. So all these things are happening, man. Let me know what you think. Until next time, this your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day and God bless. As always, peace.